So I got to a point where I was building up my clientele, and this salon owner in the area that I knew, she had like a YouTube channel and she was like pretty well known in our area, approached me and she's like, I'm opening a salon. I want you to come work for me. And I'm like, awesome. So I go work for her for 3 days. And within 3 days, I could just tell she was like, didn't like me. She like sent me this long text 3 days into the job and was like, I just think that you're too cocky, you're too confident, you don't ask me for help enough. And I was like,
really?
Yeah, and it was a very weird experience. It's been a while, but the point of the story is that she literally told me word for word, you should stop doing hair. Like, you should give up, you should never work again, like you're gonna be blacklisted. I built this career because I was like, I am not gonna let someone else tell me who I am and what I can and can't do. And now I don't think twice about her. My career's so far from like what that started as, but it did start from someone telling me like, you should not do this. And maybe I'm stubborn, but I'm like, no, I can do this. There's enough like success for everyone to have. Like, how many podcasts are there? Thousands, millions, like exactly. And they can all do well because people can listen to more than one podcast, right? And I just think of it the same way with my business. Like, you just have to like be energetic. You have to be yourself. You have to be passionate about what you do. And people really feel that. If you're faking it and you're trying to be someone you're not, I think people see through it. And I have it set up. I've been making money on YouTube for like 5 years now.
Really?
So
Is it good money?
it's good money, but I wouldn't say it's like amazing. I think YouTube, now that like TikTok's out and Instagram and you can make money on those, YouTube's kind of hit a plateau for most creators where it's like, if you're not utilizing the same thing on TikTok, on Instagram, you're not going to go anywhere.
And while you're building it, so how did you get the followers that you have? Because you have 103,000 followers on one of your accounts?
I think so, on Instagram, yeah. So just consistency, honestly. That's my biggest piece of advice for YouTube, podcast, Instagram, any platform you're on, is just being consistent. Because if you post a ton and then you drop off, people are going to forget you. That's favorite story to tell people is that I didn't graduate high school, and look at me now.
Did you not? All right, guys. Hey, thanks for tuning into the Davison Boys. My name is Tanner Davison. We have a special guest here today, and her name is Jessica Naughty Cara.
Yes, you got it right. I'm impressed.
Got it right.
I never get it right, so.
Formerly Jessica Draper, right?
Yes. Back in the day, that was what my name was.
You guys probably know her by JZStyles. She started the JZStyles salon.
Yeah.
Back in 6 years ago, right?
Yeah, I opened in 2016.
That is wild. So tell them about yourself a little bit. Like, where did you start from?
Yeah.
Where are you at now? And what was the process of getting there?
Oh gosh. So my dad's favorite story to tell people is that I didn't graduate high school, and look at me now.
Did you not?
I got my GED. So I guess I kind of graduated, but I never like officially walked, nothing.
Really?
I was the biggest slacker in school. Did not like it. So like no one thought I was going to go anywhere. Like I thought I would just be like a stay-at-home mom with kids, which if you do that, that's a hard job. I'm not putting you down. But like that was always my plan. I didn't think I would own a business or do anything like that.
How long did it take you to get your GED after you graduate?
So I got it like when I was 18. So like around the time I would have graduated high school, I got my GED.
Why didn't you just finish?
Because so I got sick towards the end of high school and I was doing home hospital. So because of that, I fell behind and I had to do either another year of school or get my GED. And I was like, screw that. So I just got my GED and it was good. But like, I think for myself, I put that pressure on myself of like, I didn't graduate high school, so I'm never going to amount to anything. So like, I just kind of like made that my train of thought, which is so bad. So for like 2 years after high school, I just like worked at a tennis club, didn't do much. And then I was like, you know what? I'll look into hair school. My mom went to hair school. Maybe that's going to be my path. So I decided to do it. I did it. I loved it. And that's really kind of what ignited my passion for the career I'm in. And then as soon as I graduated, I started working at a salon. I got married. I moved up to Logan, which is like 2 hours from here. And I would come down to Utah County like once a month and do clients down here. And that's how I built my clientele. Like
this referral. Is during hair school or after hair school?
After. So after I was done. And that
Did you
was
have like
how,
your own studio?
No, I was just working at a salon. I just like rented a chair. But since I wasn't living down here, I was once a month coming down, and that's how I built my clientele, is once a month, like referral, word of mouth, things like that. So then it got to the point where, okay, so I've told this story like on my podcast and YouTube channel, so I'll kind of like give you the short version.
Yeah.
But so I got to a point where I was building up my clientele, and this salon owner in the area that I knew, she had like a YouTube channel, and she was like pretty well known in our area, approached me, and she's like, I'm opening a salon. I want you to come work for me. And I'm like, awesome. So I go work for her for 3 days. And within 3 days, I could just tell she was like, didn't like me. And I don't know why.
Why didn't she like you?
Looking back, I think it was jealousy, which I hate saying, but like, I didn't know that at the time. But she like sent me this long text 3 days into the job and was like, I just think that you're too cocky, you're too confident, you don't ask me for help enough. And I was like,
really?
Yeah, and it was a very weird experience. So she ended up firing me, but she told me, she's like, I have it on video that you've been shoplifting at like beauty supplies in the area. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I was really young at the time and naive. This was like my first real job in the industry. And I was like, what are you talking about? Come to find out, she made the whole thing up. I went to every beauty supply in the area and I was like, do you guys have footage of me shoplifting? And they were like, what? And she made it up because she told me, she's like, you should never do anything. Like, you need to stop doing hair. You need to give up.
Who is this lady?
Her name's Mandy Sue.
Is she like popular on YouTube?
She was, yeah. She sells Monet now, which is like an MLM. She's kind of fallen into that. I'm pretty open about it. I talk about it.
Like, I know her name.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I mean, this was in 2015, so it's been a while. But the point of the story is that she literally told me word for word, you should stop doing hair. Like, you should give up. You should never work again. Like, you're going to be blacklisted. And I was like, what the heck? So I took that and I like fueled my fire. Like, I was like, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to prove her wrong. So I did that and I ended up finding a building and I was like, I'm going to open a salon and I'm going to like.
This like out of spite from her?
Kind of. Like, so not
she
like. She
kind of helped you out a little
did.
bit.
Oh, the best part about this is I call it my chandelier moment because I opened my salon and then she opened a second salon. So she already had one. And in her second salon, she had this like amazing chandelier. It was like really big. And she had made a post about it like, I bought this with my own money. I'm so proud of it, blah, blah, blah. It was like her chandelier. That salon ended up going under and the bank took over like a few months after she opened. And so it sat there and I had a friend who bought that building and they were like, do you want the chandelier? And I was like, hell yeah. And now it hangs in my entryway in my salon.
Has she ever been there before?
No, but she knows. So that's my
funny.
Chandelier moment is, and that I like to tell that story, not to like throw shade, but I'm like, if I would have let her like knock me down and give up, who knows where I'd be. And instead I was like,
throw as much shade as you want. That lady is rude.
Yeah, and it's been like like everyone knows about it because she still to this day will like try to bully me. But I built this career because I was like, I am not going to let someone else tell me who I am and what I can and can't do. And now I don't think twice about her. My career's so far from like what that started as, but it did start from someone telling me like, you should not do this. And maybe I'm stubborn, but I'm like, no, I can do this. Now I have what I have and it's pretty cool.
So she like lit a fire under you and
yes.
decided to start something new.
Yes.
Were you scared that you weren't going to be successful?
Oh yeah, a little bit, but I kind of have the mindset, I go into things where it's like, my dad's my business partner and so we're 50-50. He's the financial guy. So he does like all our taxes, finances, website design.
Nice.
Amazing. Like I'm so grateful for that because I'm more creative. So I'm more like the marketing and like the fun side of it. So we each have like a hand in things, but because he's my business partner, he keeps me grounded, but I'm the risk taker. So I don't get super like nervous. I'm just like, you know what, if we fail, we're going to figure it out and we'll try something new. That's always been my mindset.
Has something not worked for you?
Yeah, like little failures along the way for sure. Like I would say my biggest thing is that we started a clothing company about 2 years ago, and I wouldn't say it failed, but it was just so much work. And it was getting to the point where it needed so much of my attention and it was taking away from all my other things I do. So I had to make the decision to close that, but it was the right time.
What kind of attention were you needing to put into it?
So I was modeling for all the photos. I was picking every clothing item we had in. I was doing all the marketing because I wanted a hand in it. And I feel, we talked about this earlier, but if you have a passion in something, it comes across. And I think people really see it. So if like I have my passion in the clothing line or the YouTube videos or the podcast, people feel that. And I think that's what like attracts them to your thing, right? And
but you have so many different passions.
I do. And that's the hard thing about who I am. But so a big lesson I've learned over the years is you have to focus on like the 2 or 3 things, or maybe it's just one thing that makes you great and give that your all, because I've been in the situation where I've done like 10 things and I give each 10%, and that's hard, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how you end up failing. And so those are the failures I've experienced, is like not giving enough to myself and stretching myself too thin. So now I know my passions really are like hair, education. So I have a hair salon, a hair extension company, and then I travel the country teaching stylists how to apply the hair extensions, and that's like my big passion.
So I've followed you on Instagram for quite a while now. I actually knew Jess back in the day, and when I was like 12 years old. She was my neighbor.
Literally. I think you were younger when we met, because I remember being
younger,
in 7th grade. So you were in like elementary
Whenever
school.
You had braces.
Yes.
That 7th grade?
I had braces for like 6 years, so it was a while.
I had the biggest crush because she was like the only girl that I knew that was like blonde hair, She had braces, but she was older, and I was like, "That's my sister's friend. She's like really cute."
Yeah.
Like, this 10-year-old kid.
We were best friends, me and your sister. Yeah. So I was at your house all the time.
Yep. I'd probably like hiding behind cameras, like, I wonder what they're doing.
That's so funny.
Here we are, like 20 years later.
Right? I know we're getting so old. Like, but that feels like yesterday sometimes.
It does.
Crazy.
It does feel like just the other day.
But it's cool to see what we're both doing now. Like, you grow up and you're like, oh, like, just seeing what other people do and like the success people have is really fun, I think.
Have you stayed in Utah this whole time?
Yeah. And I love it. I love it. I think I'll always
California.
be here. No, so my husband lives in California part-time.
What?
So yeah, it's crazy. So he sells solar. So he has an apartment there. So he's only in Utah half the year. So
is that hard?
Yes. I feel like a single mom.
I couldn't do that. Yeah.
It sucks. Yeah. But at the same time, it's fun because I could go visit him and like have that. But I love living in Utah since I travel so much. I travel twice a month for work. So I get to experience things, but then have a home base, which is nice.
Where are you going twice a month?
All over. So next month I'm in Ohio. Then I have Seattle, Georgia, Nashville. I don't even know. It's
is that what was on Instagram? Like you're going to be doing a tour for?
Yeah. I've been doing it for 4 years and I have not stopped.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So is that expensive?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But what happened was we launched our extension company. You're a guy, so you probably don't know, but like extensions are fake hair and you put them in a certain way. So we train stylists on how to like properly put them in so that their clients have healthy hair, they get the best results. And I just kind of started offering classes like to start. I didn't really think it would catch on. And my first class was in North Carolina and it sold out. And I was like, this is so cool. Then my next one was in California. Then it was Florida and it just kept going.
Are you like marketing in those areas or?
So like we have a customer base all over the US. So we get orders from every single state. And so then my following kind of comes from all of our customers. So I just put out there, like, where do you guys want to see us? And I would say our biggest markets are the South, Texas, Florida. Those always do really well. Nashville. We're going to New York and Boston in the fall. That's going to be fun. But it's
you'd never like put your home base in California or Texas or somewhere else?
Probably not, only because my whole family works with me and we all live here. And it's just, I don't know, maybe. We've thought about it, but if we were going to, we would do a tax-free state. So like Tennessee doesn't have sales tax.
Nice, yeah.
So it's like, oh, that might be a smart idea. But
talk about your family. So what's it like working with your dad, your mom, and your sister, like all under the same roof? I feel like I would get very annoyed.
Yes. We are very lucky in the sense of each of us has like a special thing we bring to the table. So like I said, like I'm the creative, the marketing, I'm like the face of the company in a sense because I started it alone and then I brought everyone else in. My dad is a web designer, so he does our website, our financials. He's very intelligent when it comes to like taxes and business. So that's him. My mom's an interior designer, so with all of our design stuff at the salon, all the locations we've had, she does that. My sister Kira is head of operations, and she has had a lot of experience in management, so she's so good at that. And then my other sister Bailey's our shipping manager, and she's amazing at that. So we all have like something that like brings something to the table.
Yeah.
And because of that, we each have like our own lane we stay in, but that doesn't mean that we don't fight. Like,
who do you butt heads with the most?
Oh, good question. Probably my dad, only in the sense of since we're business partners, like we have an even say. So like sometimes it's like, well, I want this and you want this. What are we going to do? It's not like I can just be like, well, I'm your boss or he can do that to me because we're even. So that's hard. But actually our relationship's gotten a lot better since we started this, which is interesting. Yeah.
Like just more communicative?
Yeah. Like we're just like more open. Like growing up, he had all girls and that was weird for him because he's such like a guy. And so I think like it was like, oh, I have all these girls who want to braid hair and like whatever. He never thought he'd be in that space with us. And now he is. So he's like, oh, I'm in a hair salon.
Turned into his life.
Oh yeah. When he quit his job, he retired last year. He didn't even tell them like what he was doing.
Really?
He's like, I'm so embarrassed. I don't want to tell him I'm working at a salon.
Was he doing web design before then?
Yeah. He worked at a company called Novell for like 30 years.
I've heard of Novell. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a big company.
It is. And that was his whole career. So
was that a big risk to like hop over?
Oh yeah. It was terrifying for him, but it's paid off. It's been good. And it took us 5 years to build up to that point, you know? So.
When did you start seeing like a return?
So this is the tricky thing because I think with any business, it takes at least 5 years to make money and you have to put money back into a business for it to be successful. And that's the hardest thing is both my dad and I were working our full-time jobs. I was doing hair, he was doing his regular career. And then we had this side hustle, which you know how much work goes into something like this, right? So we had to give both of those things 100%. But the only reason we're doing well now is because we did that. If we had just started profiting or taking money from day one, it wouldn't be where it's at.
But
so
during that whole time, like, you aren't only focusing on these businesses that you're creating, you also got married, had a kid, and like traveling, got divorced, got remarried again.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, how do you stay so positive and energized going through a divorce or going through a marriage and like wanting to continue working on your business at the same time?
That's a good question. I feel like I've always had a pretty good mindset of like things happen for a reason, and as long as I feel good about like who I am and what I'm doing, things are going to work out. So with my marriage ending, like we were talking about it off camera a little bit, but I knew that I had given it everything I could and it didn't work out, and that's okay. But as long as I like feel good about what I put into it, then I'm good. Kind of like failure in a sense. Like that would be a big failure, a divorce, but I gave it my all and I don't regret anything. Got remarried really quickly. I had a baby, like all of that, you know, kind of changed the course of my life. But I almost feel like having my son made me want to work harder. Now, like I always loved my job. I loved what I did, but now I have more incentive to give him a good life. And I want to like show him a good work ethic. So even though I'm a crazy working mom, like I'm never going to be the stay-at-home mom, I'm showing him like what success.
And they see that. I remember growing up seeing my mom working her butt off every day.
Yes.
And like you look up to that and like, oh, people work. Like, this is what I want to do when I'm older. I want to be able to support my family.
And give
but it's usually like the guy's job. So does Jordan, does he ever feel like he needs to do more for your business at all? Or does he cross boundaries there?
Kind of. So when we first got together, people would always tease him like, oh, you found yourself a sugar mama, like kind of funny. But now he's super successful in what he does. And I think that before he started solar, he was at Vivint and he liked it, but it wasn't like his 100% passion. So he was like trying to help me out, but it wasn't his passion. It's, you know, like it wasn't, he loves helping me, but like he has his own things. Now that I've seen him like flourish in his own business, I'm like, this is awesome because he has his thing, I have mine thing, but he helps me with mine too. So he's really good at booking travel. He knows everything that there is to know about flights, hotels. So for our education business, he books our flights, our hotels. He helps coordinate that hand in hand with my mom. And that's super helpful. He just does it for free because he likes to help.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you found a good guy.
Oh,
There's a lot of controlling guys out there that would probably be like, oh, I want half of your business.
Oh, totally. Oh, well, he signed a prenup. Don't you worry. I had been through that once before. I'm like, I had to do a payout with my first divorce and I'm like, never again.
Wait, I love this topic because I always imagine like having my wife sign a prenup, but is that rude? Like,
no.
How did you offer that to him?
Marriages come and go. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm going to get divorced, but I've been divorced once. Like, I didn't think it would happen to me and it did. So luckily, since I have a business and my dad's my business partner, my dad brought it up, and my husband respects my dad so much he would never have said no. But Jordan also is pretty like business minded, and I think if we had gotten married now, he would do the same to me. Like we're both. It was never a weird conversation. So I think getting into something like that, like having those discussions up front, even when you're newly dating, might be weird, but it's like, hey, this is just part of my life. This is something I'm building. Not that I don't love you, but if you don't plan on leaving me, then you're fine signing this, right?
Well, true. So as long as you guys don't get divorced, like the money's yours?
Totally. Yeah. So the prenup is only like, hey, if we were to get divorced for any reason, you can't walk away with half my business. If there was nothing on paper, in Utah, it's 50-50.
Oh. So you get 50 of the 50 you're already getting because you're
splitting. So I would be 25. He'd get 25%.
That would suck.
It would. It really would. So it's a good thing to have in writing, and I hate to be negative like that, but it's just like when you build something that you're so proud of and it's your whole life, you have to protect it.
Yeah. So this might be too much, but you don't have to answer if you don't want to. The first husband, you never signed the prenup with him, right?
No.
Did he get half of?
So we actually had a funny agreement. So when I married him, I didn't have my business. I was just like fresh out of hair school. His family has a like good, like wealthy like family. So I'm surprised they didn't have me sign one. But I've never been money motivated. So even if like he had the money and I didn't, I wouldn't have like gone after him, but you just never know. So we got married, and then when we got divorced, he could have come for half my business, but what I agreed to do is give him a payout. So we sold our house, he got half of that, and then I gave him like a certain amount of money, and then he walked away. Good. And he had to sign something that said, since I got this payout, I can never come back and ask for half your business, which was super helpful.
That's really smart. How'd you know how to do that?
My dad.
Good.
We have a lawyer, so that helped a ton. Yes, having a lawyer and an accountant in your business is like the first thing you need to do. So
I'll keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind.
Once I find my wife out there, guys.
Yeah, hey, single guys.
Not for long. This weekend I'll find somebody.
Yeah, you probably will. Just make sure you have your prenup ready to
That's
go.
right.
Locked and loaded.
I'll have that signed in pre-hand.
Exactly.
But tell me about your next step. So you guys have had this going for 6 years.
Yeah.
Where do you see it going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Ooh. Gosh, I'll be 40. That sucks.
Don't think about it.
I know, don't think about it that way. I just turned 30 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like a real adult now. So we are actually starting a hair school. This is like a recent development. I just got my building and we're probably opening in the fall. Like I said, I do a lot of education. So I teach stylists all over the country how to apply hair extensions and do hair color. And something that's missing in the market is a lot of knowledge that goes into our industry. Like hair schools are very like by the book and there's not a lot of like real life stuff. It just prepares you for state boards and there's just not enough like education there. And I get so many students who come to my class who are like, I learned everything I know from your YouTube channel. And I'm like, I just need to capitalize on this. So we're starting a hair school. That's my next big step. And I just hope it kind of turns into like, I mean, I feel like we've actually gotten a pretty good reputation in our industry, but I want it to be known as like the education hub, the hair extensions, like just like a reputable brand for people to come to. So
I think Minor Details is doing that same thing right now with pump powder. Yeah,
probably.
They have educators
yes, pump powder is amazing. My husband has like 8 bottles of it at all times. He's obsessed with it.
We did the whole podcast on pump powder.
Really?
Yeah, they're great.
And it's cool that he started his own thing like that. He's awesome.
A hustler. He's kind of like you. You guys are just go, 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 go.
Yes.
And there's no downtime.
Yeah. And that's the thing with entrepreneurs is like you kind of have to have that mentality. Like you were asking me how I do it. And I'm like, I can't sit still. That's my personality. If I have a day off, I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like I'm bored. So
but you have a kid as well. How do you balance home and work life?
That is the one thing I do not have an answer to because I am still struggling with it. I think that everyone has a different balance. And I think that every season in life needs something different. So like this season of my life is going to be a little different from when my son's 10, right? Or when he was a newborn, I was home a little more. But I feel like the older he gets, it's a little easier to balance it out. But the biggest thing is when I'm at work, I'm at work. I'm 100% there and focused. But when I'm at home, I'm 100% focused on him and Jordan and like the life we have. So I just try to like kind of compartmentalize my brain into being like just present in the moment.
Do you feel like a different person when you're at work versus when you're with your kid?
A little bit, yeah. Because at work, I have to be the bad guy sometimes. Like I'm a boss and I have a lot of friends who work for me and my family and that can be really tricky.
Fired anybody?
Just recently, yeah. I've fired a lot of people, but I had to fire one of my best friends. I had my sister do it, so that was like really difficult. Yes, well, that's her title because she's head of operations. But it was really tricky because it got to the point where I was really good friends with this person, and because of that can blur the lines. And so if I have to step in and be a boss, it's like, wait, you're my friend, like, and I don't blame that person because like that. I'd probably feel the same way, but it's really, really tricky to do that. And I've had it happen a lot of times. And
did it ruin your friendships?
Oh yeah, totally. And it sucks. And it's something that I love. Okay, so I love giving people opportunity. I love bringing people in and like working with family and friends. And like, it's so fun, right? Like you've done stuff with your brothers. Like it's fun, but it's tricky. And it's worked for me and my family. So I think I just bring friends in expecting it to be the same and not everyone.
That's scary though, working with your family especially, because if you get in an argument and it doesn't go well, that relationship with your mom or your sister, it could be ruined. Oh,
I've said that a lot where like I can like be in an argument at work with my mom, but then if I'm at home and I like want to tell her something my son did, it's like you can't just call your mom and you just yelled at her. But no, I think we all have like built really good boundaries in that sense. But
do friends take more advantage of you when they're working for you?
100%.
That's where I would say the problem coming is from friends, not as much family. But
well, because they're not going to care as much as you do. No one ever will about your own business. But family, it's blood. There's like a little more respect there sometimes. Whereas friends don't quite understand everything that you put into it, right? And it's hard. And everyone at the end of the day is going to be thinking of themselves and what they can do to protect themselves. And that's totally fine. But I just feel like you have to be careful with who you trust and you have to have boundaries. And that's something I've learned a lot over the last few years.
By boundaries, what do you mean by boundaries? Like not getting too close to them outside of work?
Yes and no, yes. So like I have a lot of girls at my salon who I'm close with because like we're together every day. We travel for trips. I bring some of them with me to like do the education and stuff. So I have to have those boundaries. But I think the biggest thing I found is like you can be friends with them, but don't let them into every aspect of your life. Like don't invite them to every event you have. Don't have them over every single night. Don't drink and go crazy with them, even though it can be fun. Like you have to have those professional boundaries and you can be friends with someone and laugh with them and have fun without it being like inappropriate. And that's something I've learned as a boss. You have to have that line.
Do you have any friends that you don't involve in your business at all?
I think I have like one that I
Really?
can think of. Yeah. So
you actually enjoy having them around your
love
business.
it, and it's so
That's
bad. It keeps
awesome.
biting me. But my best friend, Christina, she lived in Highland. I don't know if you remember her, but she was my best friend back in the day. So I've been friends with her for 18 years. I just hired her full time. She just had a son. She quit her job. She works for me. And I love that. I'm like, I can provide for her. Like,
That
how
is
cool is
awesome.
that? And I don't think that one's going to go south. I've known her for so long.
Good.
But
If they ever leave, do
Yeah.
you get kind of sour? If they want to quit?
not really. Like, unless it's like shady. I always just tell people, like, think of how often you're like at your first job forever. No one ever does that. You
Right.
have to have different places to work and like an evolution of your career. So I don't get mad when people leave. I've just had situations where people have been shady about it. And that's the only thing that sucks, you know?
Yeah.
But other than that, no. Like, there's always room for growth.
And so I want to go back to the dating part. When you were dating Jordan,
Yeah.
you didn't date anybody before Jordan? Like after the divorce?
No, I literally got divorced. Well, okay, so I got separated September 2019, and me and Jordan went on our first date like 3 weeks later and just started dating, and we were married by March of that following year.
Okay, people always say when you meet the person, you just know.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I would say yes and no.
What did it feel like for you?
So with my first husband, I feel like I married him because he was like the safe choice. Like, he had a good family and he was a nice guy, and I still stand by all that. He is a great guy, but I was really young. I was 22 when I got married. We were 19 when I started dating. I just didn't know what I wanted. So with him, I don't feel like I had that feeling, but it was like, oh, this is a good, smart choice. This is a good guy who treats me well. With Jordan, it was kind of like that. Like, even ask him. So he had been married and had a baby in high school. So he has a daughter who's 9.
No way.
Yeah. And so he had been through the whole divorce thing and had a kid. So we connected on that, and he was like the biggest player, like in between, like, so he got married and divorced. And
Shout
was
out
just,
Jordan Natakara.
Yep, he was a ladies' man. I always tease him. My favorite thing is like at nighttime, I'm like, tell me a bed story, and he'll tell me like about one of the girls he hooked up with back in the day. Like, I love hearing about it. I just think
You
it's
like it?
Oh yeah,
Really?
There is not a single thing I don't know about him, and I love it. Like, I'm not the girl who's like, oh, I'm so jealous you talked to this girl 5 years ago. I'm like, no, tell me, this is hilarious. So he just had this wild past, and so anyone who knows him is like, there's no way you're like settling down with a girl who's divorced and pregnant. Like, what? Like, when he told his parents, they were like, what? Like, no. But we both just knew. Like, we just had that immediate like connection. Not that it's been easy every single day. Like, we have our moments, but we just had that understanding of each other. And I think the biggest thing is we both had a lot of passion and drive. So like, he loved that I worked as much as I did. And, you know, now that we have a family, it's a little different. I have to slow down a teeny bit, but he gets it because he's the same way. Like, we don't resent each other because we both work really hard. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, you need to have a person who like supports that.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big thing for me.
So he's not too needy. He doesn't need all your attention all the time.
Oh,
You guys
so
can do
there's
your own
days,
thing.
there's times we go days without talking. Not like days, like we'll call each other at night, but when he's in California, he's working all day, I'm working all day. I don't know if that's like super healthy,
I
but
like that though. I want a girlfriend that would be like, kind of leave me alone while I do my own thing for a while.
Yep. Well, because a relationship should not be something that ties you down and makes you feel like you have to give your attention. It should be both of you living your dreams, living your life, and it's a partner that like uplifts you and like makes you feel motivated. Like,
It's so hard to find that though.
it is. It really, really is.
Not for you. You did it twice.
I know. Well, yeah.
Well, once.
Second time's
Yeah,
a charm, I
second
guess. But no, but it is hard. Like, especially when you bring kids into the mix, it does change things. But I think that it comes when you're not expecting it. Because I was not expecting to get divorced and like get remarried like
How
that.
quickly did that happen?
So my divorce, separated in September. My divorce was finalized in December. Jordan proposed in February. We were married by March. So it was like
Not
fast.
in the same year.
Yeah, it was nuts.
That is
Like,
crazy.
Crazy.
What did your parents think about that?
They were nervous. Like, I had to be like, I'm getting divorced and I have a new boyfriend. I brought him to Hawaii with my parents like a month after started dating him. And that was like the first time they had met him. But I think it was good for us because we had like this little like bonding family vacation. And my mom always says like, I should have been freaked out, but I just wasn't. Like, I just knew that you guys were a good fit for each other. So it kind of goes back to like when you know, which is so weird and you can't explain it unless you've been through it.
I haven't been through it, so I don't believe it. I
Yeah.
just don't think it's true.
Well, I was also 28, so like it could happen.
That's true. So you were a little bit older.
Yeah, and I'm so glad.
More mature. I feel like I'm not mature yet. Like I'm
You
still
are,
dating.
but
I like
also
to have
you
fun.
don't know who you are yet. Like, you're growing
true.
up, and like I'd rather get married. Like, I wish I would have waited because when I got married the first time at 22, I had no idea who I was. Now I got married at 28, and I just had way better understanding of who I was. Like,
Do your boundaries get better the older you get?
oh yeah, and you care less too, like about what people think about you and setting those boundaries. So I think that helps as well.
I have a hard time like setting boundaries. I'm like, I'll be there for you if you need me, whatever.
Yeah.
And then if I don't respond back, I get in trouble. And if I get in trouble, I'm like, I'm out of here.
Totally. Well, it shouldn't be like a punishment if you're busy, right? You know? Yeah. And that's the thing is like
We'll
people
find
like that,
line.
you'll know. Exactly. It's just when you know, and that sounds so dumb, but it's true.
That sounds so
I know. But it could be like when you're 32 and that's fine too. Like Utah gives us so much pressure to like settle down. Luckily for men, you can have kids up till you're like 90. Your sperm's good to go.
Yes,
so
that's true. I've been saving it in the freezer.
You're like, it's in there if you want it. But no, with women, it's like more pressure, I think, because we have to have kids. But
are done by 34, right?
I think like it's like once you're 32, you're considered a gestational pregnancy, which is like an old pregnancy. How sad.
And you're 30?
I'm 30.
You have 2 more years. How many kids do you want?
Well, I'm pregnant right now.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I know. I'm 8 weeks, so you can't like
Wait,
super
you can't
tell.
see anything, right?
Not really. I'm
you're
kind of
like-
showing a little bit. But just for me, because I like know my body, I'm like, oh,
Congratulations.
thanks. That's why I'm like out of breath. So if you hear me panting during the podcast, it's because I'm like dying.
Oh,
but,
I'm out of breath right now. I'm just,
right?
It's not in shape.
You're like, yeah, that's like my excuse. But yeah, so this is my last one for sure. I'm done after this.
Why
so.
is that? You don't want more?
With how busy I am, like I know my boundaries and I know myself, and like I can't have 5 kids and do what I do.
Yeah.
So 2 is good.
I respect that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think I can put more focus into 2 kids rather than having 5 kids and only
Yes.
giving a couple of them more attention.
Yep. Give like the ones you have the attention, and my business is like a baby. So it's like I have 18 kids at my salon. That's how I see it. So I'm like, I have so much going on. This is like
That
what's
is
right
so
for me.
fun. You're surrounded by family and friends all day long.
Yeah.
You're doing your passion. Like you're actually thinking about it. Your mom did hair, right? When you were in high school?
Yeah. So now we do it together, and
Does
it's
she
so
inspire
fun.
you?
Oh yeah. Like when I was in hair school, I would call her and ask her for help and like get tips and tricks. And it's funny because now it's like full circle where she kind of took a break from hair. She did like house design for a while. So now getting back into it, she calls me for help, and like now we educate together. She's on my education team. Like it's really fun.
That is cool.
It's
Is your
really
hair
fun.
real? Is that
No, this is all fake.
Is
I
it
mean,
really?
it's my own hair, but then yes, I have extensions to make it longer. So
That is awesome.
But it's
So
JZ hair, so it's mine.
Extensions, do they like, how far down do they go?
So
you get them custom?
so we have 16-inch, 18-inch, 22-inch, and 24-inch. So they can be like super long.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your natural hair? Where's that?
It's like to here. And then my
Really?
own hair is like, my own
That
hair's
is
here.
crazy.
Extensions are here.
How much do extensions cost?
Okay, so it kind of depends. So it depends on like how much length you want, how much fullness. I would say anywhere from $300 to $1,500 for the hair.
300 to 50. That's a big gap.
It is a big gap, but it's all because of how much hair you have on your own head. Like if you have more hair, you're going to need more extensions to fill it in. So it kind of just depends.
So the less hair you have is actually better for price.
Yeah, which is like so weird, but the thinner your hair is, the less hair you need. Like your sister Tiara has like crazy thick hair. She would need so many extensions to like match the volume her own hair has. So
Do they
it's kind
need
of
extensions as much as people with less hair do, though?
No. And so that's the nice thing, unless they have short hair and they just want really long hair. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but
long
thinner
hair looks way better anyway.
It does. Men like long hair.
It's
just
true.
the thing.
It's a fact.
Yeah. So that's why extensions do well. So I like that about my business.
Do you focus more on extensions, or are you like, what's like your day to day? Like if you had like a monotonous week just doing the same thing, what would you be doing?
I feel like no 2 days are the same, but my day-to-day is usually waking up, getting my son ready, nanny comes, I go to the office. I have, so with our building, we have our hair salon, our retail space, and then the back half of our building is all warehouse. So that's where we ship all our products. I have an office in there. It's my podcast studio, my YouTube studio. Huge. It's fun.
I want to see it.
You should come. Yeah, it would be great. And so it's day to day, I go in, I am usually editing a video or doing a podcast or packing for an upcoming trip because we travel twice a month. I have to pack kits for every trip. We usually have anywhere from like 40 to 60 students per class. So it's getting all those kits packed, sent out, packing the bags.
That is so many
shipping.
people.
It's insane.
Are you doing like a whole seminar when you're there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a 7-hour class when we do it. So.
And are you hands-on the whole 7 hours, or
Yeah.
are you like getting the introduction and then you can go do your own thing?
No, I'm there the whole time. So what I do is I do the demo myself. So they're like all sitting. I do the demo. It's like a 1 to 2 hour thing, depending on how many questions there are. We break for lunch, and then everyone comes back and we do hands-on with mannequin heads. And so I have different educators helping at each table, and then I kind of walk the room the whole time. So
that is so fun. Do
it's
you enjoy
crazy.
it?
Love it.
Do you get tired ever?
Yeah, a little bit, especially when it's like every other weekend back to back. For 4 years, I've been doing this. So it's like getting a little hard to just travel so much. But when I'm actually in the classes, it's like my favorite thing in the world. I love meeting other stylists who do the same thing as me. And it's such a blessing that I get to do this as my job. Like, I'm so grateful that they're coming to my classes. That's why I get to do what I do.
I like how you said no 2 days are the same.
No,
because
not at all.
I find myself, because I work for solar. This isn't my full-time thing
Yep.
here. So when I'm going to work, I find myself doing the same exact thing, and it makes you kind of depressed. I'm like, I want the podcast to take off so I can start traveling and going different places.
And if you're an entrepreneur creative type like me, you can't have that day to day where it's like, okay, 9 to 5 office job. Like,
so
it gets
boring.
really hard.
So boring. And
But like I said, you have to do that
to.
while you have your side hustle.
Yep.
I think a lot of people look at me now and they're like, oh my gosh, like, and I'm like, no, it took a while to get here. Like, you're seeing it 6 years in, which was a pretty quick growth, but like, I did six days a week of hair while building it on the side.
And while you're building it, so how did you get the followers that you have? Because you have 103,000 followers on one of your accounts.
I think so, on Instagram, yeah. So just consistency, honestly. That's my biggest piece of advice for YouTube, podcast, Instagram, any platform you're on, is just being consistent. Because if you post a ton and then you drop off, people are going to forget you. It sucks, but it's just the way it is. So just consistency is key.
Do you enjoy posting? Like, do you enjoy making reels or posts?
I love it.
You do like it?
Yeah, I do. It's hard. And it definitely is like competitive, especially now with like the way the internet is. Like, everyone's doing it, so you have to stay fresh and creative. But I love it. I love being creative. It's like my favorite thing. So I think I enjoy it, and that helps, but it can get tiring, and coming up with new ideas is hard. And
who taught you how to do it? Just
myself, kind of.
Really?
Yeah. I've gone to classes here and there, but just mainly myself. Yeah.
What's your biggest tip for people who want to get big on Instagram or YouTube or?
So my two things are consistencies. One, like, I've had my YouTube channel for 6 years, and I've never gone longer than 7 days without posting. And
really?
So like, you have to plan your content out. You have to have a schedule. You have to stay dedicated to it. And then my second thing is just being yourself. Cause I think you can like look at someone who's successful and be like, oh, I'm going to copy them. I've had a lot of people do it to me where it's like, I'm going to go to her class and then I'm going to open my own thing and I'm going to just do everything the same cause she's had success. Right. And I think it's so easy to look at someone and be like, oh, this is like their recipe. I'll do it. But unless it's like you giving yourself and your passion to it, it's not going to do the same.
Like, it has to be something you enjoy.
Yes, it has to be you. It has to be unique. And there is enough like success for everyone to have. Like, how many podcasts are there? Thousands, millions. Like, exactly. And they can all do well because people can listen to more than one podcast, right? And I just think of it the same way with my business. Like, you just have to like be energetic. You have to be yourself. You have to be passionate about what you do. And people really feel that. If you're faking it and you're trying to be someone you're not, I think people see through it.
And they'll fall off. It won't be consistent. They won't keep posting.
Because you can't be consistent if you're not being yourself, right? Like,
if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to want to do it every day.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have to provide something unique as well. Like, everything I do, I'm like, hey, what is this going to benefit someone? Why am I doing this? What's the why behind it? Is it going to be beneficial for someone? Is it teaching them something? Why am I doing it? There has to be a reason.
So, I like that.
Yeah.
So you find your reason first and you create content around that why.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. I can just see the passion in your eyes. She's very lively in person, guys.
Thank you.
But what's your favorite part? Like, if you had to stick to one thing, you had to stop posting on Instagram or you had to stop the YouTube channel, what would you want to keep going?
I think I would stick with Instagram, even though like TikTok's taking off and everything. Instagram's like where it started for me. And I love that I can go on stories and connect with people and start conversations. I can do lives and people can hop on. I just love the relationship I've built. I'll get DMs from people that are like, you changed my career. And I'm like, what? Like, that's just so cool to me. Like, I still don't believe it, but like, I love that I can help people. That's why I love education so much. So YouTube is so fun, but I don't interact with people the same way I do on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I think Instagram's my favorite platform for that reason.
Do you get paid from YouTube?
Yeah, I do. So you have to have monetization on, and I have it set up. I've been making money on YouTube for like 5 years now.
Really?
So
is it good money?
It's good money, but I wouldn't say it's like amazing. I think YouTube, now that like TikTok's out and Instagram and you can make money on those, YouTube's kind of hit a plateau for most creators where it's like, if you're not utilizing the same thing on TikTok, on Instagram, you're not going to go anywhere. My mom recently started doing TikTok and she's blown up. Like, she has more followers than I do.
What does she do?
Hair videos. My sister started like producing her content, and my mom does these transformations. She has millions of views on every video.
That is awesome.
Yes, but she's making money on it, and it's like, what the heck? Like,
what
it's
is she
so
doing
cool.
different than you doing?
I don't know. Well, I guess I'm not as consistent on TikTok. I'm more YouTube. So what I'm saying is like I've been consistent on YouTube, but now TikTok's a new platform you have to think about, which sucks because like every day there's something new you have to be doing. So for me, I'm
TikTok sounds. Well, I don't have a TikTok,
it's
but
so
I need
hard.
to get one. It sounds
You do.
ridiculous.
It is so hard. And it's also so time consuming because you can scroll and not realize like 3 hours went by. It is like so addicting.
Does it help you grow your other accounts like on Instagram? And
It does. Like my mom has 150,000 on TikTok right now, and now her Instagram has grown like 20,000 over like the last few months.
What?
Yeah.
Just from TikTok?
Yes. And I'm like, okay, I got to learn something from my mom. She's doing it right.
That
it's
is
crazy.
cool.
So I think another thing is utilizing the new platforms that are coming out. It sucks, but like if something's going well, you have to jump on it.
I'm going to hop on. I'm going to start TikTok.
You have
I have
to.
a TikTok. There's nothing posted yet.
Yeah, do it. And even like 10-second clips of like what you're doing behind the scenes. People love seeing real life, and those things can take off. It's crazy.
Do you ever like follow like the trending audio that's going on?
Trending audio is big. Also, like the shorter, the better. I've noticed that if you put like a ton of effort into a video, it will not do as well as the ones where you're like 20 seconds, done. It's the weirdest thing, but people just like real life now.
Yeah.
I think things aren't as polished as they used to be. People like to see behind the scenes now.
I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, you got to do it.
I gotta start the TikTok, guys. We're gonna start it. You better follow.
And you can pull clips from this stuff and utilize it for your TikTok.
Just make a little clip.
I do that for YouTube.
You do YouTube Shorts. That's right.
Yep.
Cool.
And then I'll put it on my story, so it's like swipe up to watch the video, but it's like a 20-second clip of like the whole thing condensed down. Cool. So videos are where it's at now. It's crazy.
I'm gonna start doing that.
Yeah.
And then JZStyles.
Yes.
That's your main company. Do you have like sister companies that you're gonna be working off of?
Yeah, kind of. So we have a few different companies. So JZStyles Salon is the salon. JZStyles Hair is the extensions. But we kind of just call it all JZStyles Co. because it's like all in one. But I have like multiple LLCs for each. And then me and my dad have a holdings company that kind of like if we buy buildings, like we bought our building we're in, it goes through that. It's kind of weird how like they all branch off. And then the new school is going to be JZ Academy, and that'll be a separate business, but it's still tied into our business, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like an umbrella with things under it.
What made you want to start podcasting too?
Honestly, just because I love listening to them myself, and it's really cool to me that like it's a little more relaxed. Like we'll have guests on, and I'm like, they're like nervous, and I'm like, it literally just feels like you're having a conversation, and sometimes you forget what you say. Like I listen back, and I'm like, oh, I said that. It just feels like you're talking to a friend, and I love the like. I don't know. Don't you feel like you just get like so much closer to people at a podcast than you would just like...
You do.
I don't know. It's just it's more intimate. Yeah.
But it's also very nerve-wracking. Like when they first show up, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to talk about. Because I hate planning it out.
You don't want it to feel scripted.
Exactly.
Interview, like, yeah.
And so I get nervous making sure all the cameras are working.
Yes.
I haven't hit record on this before, and it
yes.
ruins the whole podcast.
And you're checking everything in the room to make sure it's running right. I get that. It's so hard.
And then when you finally sit down, you're like, okay, I can breathe. What do I say?
Yes, totally.
So we're working on that. We're getting better.
You have a good, like, interview host energy, if that makes sense, but like you can talk to anyone, and I think that's a really beneficial thing as a podcast host. You have to be able to like make people feel comfortable and just talk real life. Like I said, podcast is just like we're talking. It's like we're catching up, and people love that. Like I love listening to podcasts like that.
It's
so
like
it just is like way less pressure.
When they don't give you the feedback that you ask for, though, like if you ask a question, and then I had a guy on here, he sat here and he wouldn't answer any of my questions, and I was like,
so awkward.
I don't know what to talk about anymore. Like you're just gonna sit there and be quiet.
Totally.
And then it kind of got awkward, and I was like, all right, guys, that's it.
Yeah. I've had guests like that too, and it's super awkward. I think that it's good to have like filler games or questions or just things that you can like fill the space with. Or if you have an interview that's kind of a dud, have like a series on your podcast where you're doing a Q&A and you wrap it into that episode, or like you played a game with one of your listeners. Like we've done stuff like that. So then just the whole episode isn't the interview, but it's like multiple things.
I want to start doing that.
I
want to have like multiple like guys and girls and have like different opinions.
Yes.
It'd be kind of fun.
Because don't you love listening to podcasts where there's a ton of different opinions and like there's conversation flowing? I love that. So having stuff like that and like segments is super helpful.
Yep. I had the biggest one, we had like 7 people here, and we were all sitting in the back, but it was a lot of fun. That was like my favorite one, is because everyone was talking and loud and
lots of energy.
Yep. I didn't feel like it was all on me. Which is actually, you're very nice because you talk a lot. Like you like to, and you don't make it hard to ask questions.
Sometimes it's like pulling teeth, getting people to like talk. You're like, oh, so awkward.
But I actually really appreciate you coming on here today.
Yes,
This has been a lot of fun.
It's been the best.
I don't know how long it's been yet, but
Who knows?
We'll cut it down and make it work.
Yeah. How long are your episodes usually?
They're usually about an hour.
That's good.
The longest one's like an hour 20, but it was too long.
Yeah,
People
I
don't
get
watch
that.
the whole
But
thing.
you know what I've noticed? I used to think that, and so I'd cut my episodes down to like 20, 30 minutes, and then I'd have people messaging me being like, no, I loved like listening to the first half on the way to work and the second half on the way home. And I'm like, oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. So some people like it.
That is
You never know.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I did a reel on Instagram. Do you hear that?
Yeah, what? Is that like your dishwasher?
Oh, they have the garbage plate.
Oh, I'm like,
downstairs.
what is that?
What is that sound?
You're like, like, can we edit that out? That is the
Maybe.
worst part about audio. Like,
You can't edit a lot of things out. You can try, but it just makes the audio distort a little bit more.
it does. I know. We'll have like motorcycles go by our building, and I'm like, now we have to repeat that whole last sentence. I hate it.
At least you push record.
Yeah, that's true. That's the key. It's number one thing.
Okay, I want to come see your place that you
Yes.
do your podcast.
Yeah,
at.
come
I wanna see what it
anytime.
looks like.
I'll have you on mine, and we'll do like a little switcheroo.
That would be fun.
That would be really fun.
Are you just down there in
We're in Pleasant Grove.
Pleasant Grove? I think
Yep.
I've driven by a few times.
Yeah, probably. It's on State Road. Do you know where Taco Amigo is in Pleasant Grove?
Yeah, it's
like
Purple
right next
Turtle?
door. Yeah, it's right by Purple Turtle. Yep. It's a big sign. Me and my sisters are on it. You'll see it.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I know exactly where
Yeah,
you're at. That's cool.
It's super fun.
Well, anyway, thank you for tuning in to
Yes.
the Davison Boys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Bye,
This is
guys.
JZStyles.
That was so fun.